Hello witches and pagans, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I will be talking to you about protection magic. If you have an interest in witchcraft, paganism, spirituality, starseeds, psychic readings, stuff like that, do subscribe to the channel and check out some of the other videos. Without further ado, we can get into it. We're talking about protection magic regarding to herbs. As you can see, I've brought a lot of herbs out here. I'll be talking about some of them, maybe not all of them, because there's quite a lot. Although I've written down some notes here. So where's my little wand? Alright, so as we can see over here, I've written down... oh, let me hold it up a bit higher so you can see it properly. So as you can see here, I've wrote down trees. So there's... when you're working with herbal magic, there's different ingredients that you can use. So the ingredients will come from different places, such as like from trees. Trees seem to crop up quite a lot in protection magic. Certain trees, I've written them down here, the ones that are the most popular for this subject. So there's elder, the elder tree, rowan tree, oak tree, holly tree, alder buckthorn tree. Some of them, that's not a complete list. Basically all trees are very protective and magical. Hence where you get the saying knock on wood, to avert something awful or something horrible that you don't want to happen. So if someone says such and such, it's a popular saying, knock on wood. So if someone says something awful like, ooh, I'm scared of breaking my leg or something like that, then my nana, for instance, would be like, ooh, don't say that. She'd be like, ooh, knock on wood, touch wood or knock on wood, and that averts it. And part of the reason why that is a popular saying is because back in the day, in olden times, it was believed, in ancient times, it was believed that spirits, or rather good spirits, resided in the trees. Like we'd call them dryads, like, and other nature spirits. So basically, trees are alive, evidently, but when I say they're alive, I mean that trees contain tree spirits. So some trees contain multiple spirits of nature beings. So that is something to be aware of. In folklore and paganism, it suggests that you plant certain trees outside your home to ward off evil or to ward off the devil. So elder tree and holly, or if you plant one or the other, they will, if you plant them outside your home or on the grounds of your home, then they will avert evil. So, although any trees in general, especially like there's other trees like rowan. Rowan is another favourite protection. I've got some of the dried berries over here. Although rowan tree There is a saying, I believe it comes from Scott Cunningham: woe to the lad without a Rowan tree god. So basically, in one of his books, he details a way in creating a cross with Rowan tree wood, and for a child to wear it for protection. All of the trees, all of the trees are very good at protecting us all. So if in doubt, and if you're unable to find some of the other herbs which I've listed here, then find a tree because there's lots of those about. So I'll read this bit here. These are the different herbs you can use, so I'll pick out some of them. Do feel free to press pause so that you can write down the herbs which are on here. If you can, I hope you can see them well. So I'm just going to read a few of them out. I won't read the full list because it's quite a big list. But these are some of the herbs which are good for protection magic. I'll be mentioning various different herbs from this list anyway throughout the rest of the video. So aloe, so like aloe vera. So basically, one of the main points of this video is to prove to you that you have lots of things, lots of plants around you already which are available and ready for protection magic, such as having an aloe vera plant. How many people have an aloe vera plant at home? Did you know that it protects you from evil spirits? Right, so this book here, Element Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells by Judica Ills, so I refer to this quite a lot because 5,000 spells, like there's practically spells for everything, so it is good to make some of your own spells, but I like this encyclopedia because it lists like lots of different spells from like ancient times to now, basically, but majority of them have come from ancient times. So here it says, aloe vera leaves, they're filled with healing, soothing gel, and they are shaped like spears. So that is one of the main reasons why aloe veras are viewed as a protective plant, because of the shape of the leaves. They're shaped like spears, so they're protective. So they protect from, it says here, maintain living plants on your altar for spiritual protection, especially if working with volatile entities or dangerous spirits. So basically, having aloe vera plants around, they help to protect you from harmful spirits and entities. So just, it's a very easy way to have a little bit of extra protection, like keeping a little black kitty around as well. A little black cat, or most cats really. They will protect you as well, but we're talking about herbs, so I don't want to go off on a tangent talking about black cats instead. Another easy way to protect your home is to get some lemons. I've got a ton of them here. Let's see if I can show you. So, yes, oops, dropped me lemon. So I've got some elderflower on top of here. Elderflower with elderberries. So elderflower, that's another favourite. That was lemons. Lemons. If you think about the saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Using lemons in your magic is basically like I've done here. I've cut a cross in the lemon, so just by placing some lemons in a room, you feel like there's been some bad vibes, then just placing 3 lemons in that room will help to clear them up, because the lemons are very powerful cleansers. So they just suck up all of the bad vibes and the bad energies. And in that way, they are protecting you from those harmful energies. There's other household items such as onions. I put onions on my altar a lot as well. Onions and garlic, they are very protective. Although I usually choose like things that grow in the ground, like root plants, like onions, because they honour my patron goddess, Hecate, because she is a chthonic deity, which means that is one of the areas which she has dominion over, the earth. If you worship an earth deity, then you often give them offerings of earthy fruits and veg. Right, so some other things that I've got here. So there's some pine over here. So pine is very protective. And another thing which I've got over here is some moss. This moss has dried out a lot. So I'll bring it up to the camera. Moss. Green moss. So moss is healing and protective, pretty much like aloe vera is as well. And also moss is good for bringing in abundance as well, so it's triply good. I'll show you the elderflowers. Oh, the elder leaves and elderberries. So elder, as I was saying earlier with the trees, elder is very protective. Elder is one of the trees which have a strong connection to the goddess. You are forbidden from burning elder. It is just in the pagan folklore. Elder be the lady's tree, burn it not, or cursed you'll be. That is from the witch's reed, or the Wiccan reed. Cinquefoil here. So cinquefoil is a really cool herb. It's good for, I think it's about 5 different things. So it's good for protection, luck, health. So basically it's an all-rounder. So it's one of my favourites, especially because I know where to forage the cinquefoil. I often see cinquefoil growing in like car parks and stuff like that, because people tend to use it as like and grow it as a hedge. Maybe because it's such a pretty plant, because this is all dried up, so you can't really see it that well, but it has little yellow flowers which are quite pretty when they're not all shriveled and dried up. Oak and holly, they're protective as well. So there's some acorns here, so if you was making a protective charm, you could use a couple of acorns. Let me show you them at the camera. Pick that up. So that is a couple of the acorns. So acorns, they grow on oak trees. There's aloe vera, asafoetida, basil, bay. Bay is another favourite one of mine to use. So bay leaves, let me grab a couple of bay leaves. 2 bay leaves here. So with bay leaves, you can just write names on them. So bay leaves are good for protection. So if you're wanting to cast a protection spell for somebody, write the name down on a bay leaf and then pop it somewhere safe, like on your altar, or you could even keep it on the person to offer them the protection once you've charged it with the magic. So there's some holly over here as well. It's really prickly, this holly. I just collected it today. So holly as well. Oak and holly. Basically most of the trees, as I said earlier, most of the trees are very protective. There's a bit of nettle, which is shrivelling up. But nettle is very protective as well. So over here I've just got a lit a charcoal disc. So I'm just burning some incense on here. Some benzoin here. So pour some of that on. Let's bring the camera over here so you can see properly. That's the lemon, so there's a bit of elderflower in here and sage. So pop that on the charcoal. So that's another way you can utilise protection magic, by burning herbs as incense. I think that's some red clover I've just dropped on there. Okay. I also have some of my temple incense over here, so it's incense that I've already mixed together. Have a little bit. Alright, so that's got a good mixture of incense on there. So another thing to bear in mind if you're wanting to use herbs for protection is like small herbs like caraway seed and fennel seeds. If little seeds, they was often used in the olden days. Let's see if I can move this down. Oh. So that's some caraway seed. So yeah, caraway seed was often used. They'd sprinkle caraway seeds outside the door, or if not caraway seeds, they'd sprinkle rice on the ground. And that way, any evil demon or evil entity, before they could enter a home where seeds such as caraway seed or rice had been sprinkled on the ground, that the demons would have to stop and count every grain of rice or every seed which had been sprinkled on the ground before they could enter. So that was a tricky little way of protecting your house against evil. So I've got a bit of cascarilla here. So you probably can't see it very well because it's not a very good jar, but cascarilla is dried eggshells. So that can be used for numerous things. It's also, I also use it on my plants. So if you like to grow plants, if you've got a bit of a green thumb, it has lots of nutrients and good stuff for plants in them. I'll let you see a bit. So that's the caraway, not caraway, sorry. This is the cascarilla, so dried eggshells. But the main point is cascarilla can be used for protection, so you could sprinkle that in the four corners of the room. So cascarilla is one of those tricky ingredients because it can be used either to curse with or to protect with as well. So kind of like salt and pepper really, because salt and pepper you could use them both for protection, although you can also use them to curse with as well. So another way of doing herbal protection magic is by smoke clearing, like so. Just think about, whilst you're burning the smudge stick, have a think about your intentions. So you're intending that for the smoke to remove all bad vibrations, all negativity, remove it quickly from your home, from the space. And you may need to light it a few times as well, because this one's just died out. Depending on what kind of smudge you have. This is a pine smudge stick, so it doesn't seem to be a long burner. Like, I think sage, that burns more quickly. Okay. So you could call upon deity as well. So I call upon Hecate, please fill this home with your protection and your blessings. Thank you, Dark Mother. And that is a basic smoke clearing. So that's some hawthorn leaves from a hawthorn tree. And there's a couple of little berries there. So one way of telling hawthorn berries, apart from rowan berries, is rowan is usually more of a lighter and orangey colour, whereas these hawthorn berries, they seem to be a lot darker. And also you can tell by the leaves as well. Hawthorn leaves look like this. I'll show you some of my dried rowan berries. So that's some dried rowan berries there. I wasn't able to find a rowan tree today on my wanders, so I've got an illustration from one of my books, which I'll quickly show you. Ooh. If I can get... So, this is what rowan leaves and berries look like. It's garlic on here, so it's kind of going back to the superstition again, because garlic was used to ward off vampires and stuff like that. So I'm guessing they use it to ward off witches as well. Although we can use garlic to ward off any kind of bad vibes, and the same with onions as well. So geranium, moss is very protective. ivy, lavender, lily, lime, marigold, mistletoe, mint, nettle, myrrh, pine, so that's what I was just burning. So oak, olive, parsley is another kitchen herb. Pepper, ragwort, raspberries, rhubarb, so they're kind of fruity but protective as well. Rice, rosemary, so as you can see with a few of these, sage, as you can see with a few of these, you could very well make a meal with some of these ingredients like rice and rosemary. I like to cook rosemary in with my rice as well. But you can make a meal and you can charge that and enchant that rice or enchant that meal to bring out extra protection. So as you're eating those foods, you're then absorbing the protection magic. So there's St. John's wort, that's another good protection herb. St. John's wort is one of the ones which was used by, in the burning times, they used St. John's wort. I think it was St. John's wort, vervain and dill. Or was it St. John's wort, vervain, rue and dill hinder witches of their will. And that was one of the popular sayings. St. John's wort, vervain, rue and dill hinder witches of their will. Although they believed that St. John's wort would take away witches' powers, or take away their magic, or negate their magic. Although us witches, we use St. John's wort all of the time and we've still got our magic, so hard lines there, witch hunters. So yeah, there's sandalwood, thistle, tomato. That one even surprises me, tomato. I've never really thought of that one as a plant for protection. Turnip as well. Although that turnips were carved like pumpkins on Halloween. So originally, in the olden days, it was turnips, that got carved. But in modern times, we now use big pumpkins because it's a lot easier to carve something which is really big. Whereas carving faces into a turnip to scare off ghosts. So, the violet, salt, willow, wormwood. So yeah, there's some of the different herbs. So Dragonsblood is another very protective one. So Dragonsblood, Frankincense, these are colophony or pine resin. So all of there's a lot of cool resins there. Myrrh as well. So Dragonsblood, frankincense, myrrh, pine resin. So there's a lot of resins which you can use if you are making herbal incense mix for protection. Once you've chosen your herbs which you'd like to use for your protection spell, you can then grab the herbs in your hand, so hold it in your hand. So I'll hold my Cinquefoil. The little bits are flying everywhere. So you focus on your intention, so you want to charge the herbs with protection powers. So you would then speak a spell to help draw energy. Sacred herbs and flowers I love, grant me help from all above. As I will, so mote it be, with harm to none, including me. Sacred herbs and flowers I love, grant me help from all above. As I will, so mote it be, with harm to none, including me. So we'll repeat it one more time, but all the while really thinking of your intention. Visualize that you're fully protected and really believe it, because the more faith you have in the magic, the stronger that it will work. Sacred herbs and flowers I love, grant me help from all above. As I will, so mote it be, with no one harmed, including me. So that is a Wiccan herb charging spell. So basically the wording of that spell is to call on the divine to help you charge the herbs and basically give you what you're asking for. So we're asking for protection, and you want protection, and you also don't want anyone to be harmed as well. So in the process of getting this protection, you don't want anyone to be harmed, including yourself. With no one harmed, including me. So as we say this, we're just covering ourselves in case our spell takes an unpredictable turn, because spells and magic are unpredictable. They do not always manifest in the way that we specifically want them to. So when we use like phrases in our spells, such as with no one harmed, including me, we're just kind of just making it safer and kind of setting limits for the magic, rather than letting it just run rampant and wild and chaotic. So yeah, just bear that in mind. I listed these herbs which are known to be good for use in protection magic, although I don't want you to just only go off of what I tell you or what anyone else tells you. I want you to actually play around with some of the herbs. Grab some herbs, so even if it's just the herbs in your kitchen, sprinkle some of them in the palms of your hand and ask them. I know it may seem silly, but if you're practicing witchcraft, you must realise that you're working with elemental or earth magic and earth beings. So each of the different herbs, they have a connection to earthly spirits and earth beings, nature beings, which can commune with us. So just hold some of the herbs in your hand. So I'm going to hold the holly in my hand. I'll hold some holly and try not to get prickled. And then, so holding a herb in your hand, or a tree leaf like I'm doing, and then just ask it, Holly, what kind of magic would you like to do with me? Or what kind of magic can you do for me? And just see what kind of impressions you pick up. And when I say impressions, I mean like psychic impressions, like depending on how open you are to your intuitive abilities, depends on how much impressions you will get. So even if you just see colours at first, or if you hear one or two words. So Holly, what can you do for me? Alright. So I just heard strengthen. So the holly magic will help me to strengthen. So strengthen my will, or it will help to strengthen me in some way. So if I work with the holly for magic, that's its personal message to me and what it will help me to achieve through its magic. So basically, I want you to all just have a go at doing that, just grabbing some herbs in your palms of your hands and just trying to tap it. Really take some time to tap into it. It may not be a quick process, and if you try lots of different herbs, some herbs may speak more to you than other herbs, because it's just like crystals or any other form of crystals, runes, or trees. Like we're all drawn to different crystals, trees, and runes. Like some runes will stand out more than others. Some trees will be our favourites. Like I know for me, like one of my favourite trees is Rowan, and another one is willow. Like I really love those trees, and I quite love elder trees as well. Although, so when it comes to herbs, like one of my favourite herbs would be, what I'd say one of the favourite herbs is saffron. Another one, I'd say bay. I quite like bay leaves as well. I'll grab some of them. I'm gonna put some in my charm. So bay is another one of my favourite herbs, because when it comes to bay leaves, like you can work magic by eating them. In the ancient times, they would eat bay leaves and it would give them courage. When I'm mid ritual, sometimes I like to just eat the bay leaf, and I believe it helps me to connect with the deities and with spirit, and it helps to give me more courage in my magic. So I've got a couple of bay leaves here. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the different ways which you can use the herbs. So you can place protection herbs into a protection pouch, or just a pouch. It doesn't have to be a protection pouch. So I'm going to pop some acorns in here as well. I'm going to throw the nettle in. So when it comes to collecting nettle, be careful with it, because as you must know, nettle does sting. I used scissors when I was cutting this, although another neat trick you can use when it comes to nettle is just quickly closing your fingers on it, rather than if you brush against nettles, that's when you get stung. But if you quickly just close your fingers around it and just snap it off, then you're less likely to get stung. So I'm going to put the hawthorn in here as well. So we've got hawthorn, we've got nettle, we've got acorn. I'm going to grab some rowan. We had bay in there as well. So a couple of dried rowan berries. Pop them in. Okay, we're good. Pop some cascarilla in there as well. Only a little bit because it can be quite messy. Because the fun thing about cascarilla, because it's dried eggshells, it gets quite smoky, so it does look kind of magical sometimes. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it if you can see a bit. No, you couldn't really see that well. Oh, yeah, you can see that. So it's quite cool because it's powdered eggshell. I've made a bit of a mess there. I hope you saw that on the camera. Okay, so I'll put a little bit of that in here. Just a little. Cascarilla. Okay. And then what else do I want? I'll put a bit of rue in. I always like the sound of rue, just because it sounds like my name. I'm a bit silly there, but rue. Also, I always find it funny that it's one of the herbs which they say protects against witches and witchcraft. But really, they protect against negativity and evil, so to speak. Witches aren't evil, so I guess that's why it doesn't really protect against us. Alright, so a bit of rue, that's in there. Which one? What else do we want in? Oh, Cinquefoil, I almost forgot then. Right, so I'll pop some Cinquefoil in. Cinquefoil is one of my favourites. Because it's good for a few different things. So, we've got our herbs in our protection pouch now. So, you can either make protection pouches, or you can fill up jars with herbs. So you can make a protection jar with your herbs as well. Okay. So we're just gonna tie this secure, just because I don't want the herbs falling out if I put it in my pocket or if I put it into my pillow or something like that. I don't want the herbs to go everywhere. Okay, so there we've got our protection pouch. So you can do the same thing. If you've got a pouch, like a little pouch like either of these, then you can just pop the herbs in the side and then just close it. If you don't have a pouch handy, then you can just use a piece of cloth. If you have a scrap piece of cloth, just cut it up so it's like a little piece of scrap cloth, and then just put your herbs inside. Once you've charged them and spelled them, put the herbs inside and then tie it up with some string and secure it, and that's just the same as a pouch then. So pouches and jars, boom, you're good. The last thing on my list here is book recommendations. So I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. The Element Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells by Judica Ills. So that's a really good book if witchcraft is one of your loves, and if you have an interest in casting different spells. This is Merlin's Book of Magic and Enchantment. That's a cool one. So it's got quite a lot of spells. I'll just quickly flick through. So it has a bit about how you yourself may become a wizard or a witch. And then it has a bit about the seasons and the elements, so the different elements and how to connect with them. Other means whereby you may come to know the future, so that's a spell for divining the future. Further knowledge concerning candle magic. So a bit about candle magic. To cast aside misfortune and gather onto yourself good luck. So that was what the spell with the illustration for the Rowan berries and Rowan leaves is for. Right, so another book I'd recommend is Scott Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. So if you see here, it has illustrations of each of the herbs. It tells you the gender of the herb, it tells you the ruling planet, the element, the powers which it possesses, magical uses. So it's a really useful book, especially if you don't have any other books on the subject. So it's a very good book for beginners who want to practice herbal magic. There's another one here, Incense, Oils and Brews, also by Scott Cunningham. You can probably see a pattern here. When I first started learning witchcraft, he had quite a lot of books on the different forms of witchcraft. There's the Incense, Oils and Brews, there's the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, he has Earth, Air, Water and Fire, so about elemental magic books, he had the Solitary Witch's Guide and stuff like that. So yeah, I bought most of his books when I first started out. And the last book I would recommend is Herbal Magic by Jarena Dunwich. So it does what it says on the tin. It's got different lucky and unlucky herbs, herbs associated with supernatural creatures. So it lists some of the herbs, talks about herbalism and herbal divination, to ward off illnesses and wounds. So again, this one's a little like Scott Cunningham's book. It's got some images inside, some illustrations, and it's got the ruling planets and the elemental ruler, the plant type. So it's quite similar to Scott Cunningham's one. So yeah, they're the books that I would recommend if you're interested in this subject. I really hope you found it interesting. If you did enjoy this video, then please let me know in the comments, and please share it with friends and families, and please hit the subscribe button, and thank you for watching, and please come back for the next installment of the Protection Magick series. So thank you so much for watching, and brightest blessings and namaste.